Hello, this is Ben from Agfa, and what we're going to look at now is how to change this sort of blocky sort of grey box that we have into a sort of more complex sort of 3D shape there and everything. So we're going to ungroup them and just start actually using the tools that we looked at in the Moodle glossary to start breaking down this shape into something more complex. And there's some shapes in here that we're not going to do much to, like this one. I'm actually quite happy to leave that the way it is. This one I'll probably cut in half so we don't have extra faces there. These ones again I'll probably cut in half just to look at that and look at the bridging tool and the extrude tool to get the internal parts of the box working and everything. But yeah, that'll basically be it. And then for the in parts of these I'll just sort of look at doing some extrusions inside the box there. So anyway, let's get to it and yeah, see how we go. So first things first, I'm going to ungroup this. I'm also just going to bring up and show people where they can find that glossary as well. So when you go here to your glossary, after signing in, go browse by category, and we're looking at modeling tools. So that's these things here, so like bevel, bridge, detach, duplicate, extrude, loop cut. So it's just a good way of just being able to go through and just find whatever it is you need just by looking at those cubes and thinking about, is that the shape that I need? So for this first part here, for example, I'm going to ungroup it, edit, ungroup, edit, ungroup. So I might need to select the group here, ungroup, cool. Separate. Yep, so it wasn't grouped up, it was combined, so that's fine. And what we're going to do is going to press Control 1 on the keyboard just to isolate it and then look at what we need to take out. So obviously with this part here, I'm just going to lower this down so that is on there. I'm going to select both of them and do it to both sides. And then I'm going to extrude up and extrude out. And then just pull down there. Scale up just a bit more, and there. Cool, excellent. So that should work pretty well there and everything. And then I can just start looking at deleting each of these internal faces to make it so that I don't have to deal with them later. So I'll right click and go to face mode and delete those. That's good. Go onto this object, right click and hold, go to face mode, delete them. Click on this object, go to face mode, and delete them. Cool, excellent. So far so good, except for the fact that if I now look underneath this shape, I'll see there's all these holes here that we need to get rid of. And there's a couple of faces that go over each face that we also need to get rid of. So let's have a look at how we can do that. So first things, I'm just going to drag this out a bit just so it covers that. Bring that back there. Good, just we got that bridge there and everything. Cool, so let's just have a look at this one. So I'm going to press Control 1 just to isolate this one. So to fill that gap, we could just use, and I just pointed out where you can find it, the bridging tool. So that's how we can bridge between two sort of empty spaces there. So it says here, Edit Mesh, Bridge. I'm just going to show you a shortcut key to get to that as well. So I'm going to select that edge, and then hold down Shift key, and then right click. And that's going to bring up a different menu here, one that has bridge already selected. So that goes there, and we're good. The other thing is we need to consider that when we look at this, we're not going to see those faces on the inside because this will basically cover it. So I'm actually going to go ahead and delete these faces. I'm just going to have to bridge that in again. Like so. There's less faces to UV unwrap and fix, so I'm happy to do that. And we don't have faces over faces that way. So that's that part there, done nicely. But as we can see, if we were to group this, and then I'm just going to move this up. If we try and rotate this, we can't see the internal part here. So we've got to think about how we're going to do that. So I'm going to actually just use a Extrude Tool to create an internal face, and I'm going to delete that face and then bridge it up just like I did with these ones here. So to do that, I'm going to go Control 1, select that face in there, bring that back, Control E, and I'm just going to scale it in there, so we've got it on that part, and then scale it in on here, so it's at the edge of there, and I can go to my wireframe mode, so I can see through this, just so I can measure it up to there. Just goes a bit over there. I'm actually going to bring it in just a little bit more, like so, like that. Cool, excellent, except for the fact that the bottom face probably isn't going to match up there closely, so I'm going to do that again, and this time I'm going to select the bottom face and do them both at the same time, so that I know that they match up. Again, this is different from the way I modeled it, but that's just to go to show there are more than just one way of doing things. Cool. Alright, so we've got that there. Going to delete those faces. Going to bring back solid mode so I can see. So I've got these parts here, so I can just bridge those in just like I did before. And then bridge like that. Cool. And so now, when I select that group down the bottom here, and move that up, you can see, yeah, so we've now just got to get this internal face and just start extruding here. But another thing that we could do is, because this is already sort of hollow and flat, I could just delete that face on the inside there. So I'm going to press Control 1, delete that face, and then press Control E to extrude out like that. And that will solidify that up there, like so. And just scale it down slightly so it's right on the edge. Pull it back there, and there we go. Cool, like that. And then the other thing I'll do though is just get rid of these internal faces here, because again, we don't need to unwrap them or text them, because we're just not going to see them. And yeah, that'll work out just fine. So that is that lid there modeled. So now I just want this latch here. So I'm going to look at a different tool now. This is called the Insert Edge Loop. What this does is it allows me to, if I left click and drag on any of these edges, cut that open like so, and cut that open like that. And what that means now is I can delete these internal faces here, because again, as I was saying before, we're not going to see them. And if we're not going to see them, might as well get rid of them. Cool. That's good. I'm going to go ahead, combine them all like that, and then go to my four-way view here. So to move a pivot point on any sort of object, if I want to center it, I can go up here to modify, center pivot. That will center it with the object itself. But if I want to move it, I can press D, and then I can just move that to wherever I want it to be. In this case, right here, because I want to see how does it look when we open it up like that. I can see that I've left this one behind, so I'm going to hold down Shift, select both of those, go combine, and then I'm going to have to move my pivot point again, and going to move it just to that corner there, and then open it up like that. Cool, excellent, all right. So that's that part done. Now this part here, because it's basically the same as this part here, I'm actually just going to be a little bit cheeky and separate this out again so they're all separate objects. Delete that one, Control D to duplicate, and bring this down like so, just like that. And that's good. I'm just going to pull these out a bit because we need them on the hinge, like so. These are also pretty high poly, so I might change those to a lower poly version, just because there's no need for them to be that detailed, because they're going to be very small. And why? Excellent. All right, so now we're going to look at this bottom box here. So again, I've got these sort of inlay sort of parts here. So I'm going to look at the Extrude Tool, But I'll do that in a minute, because whenever I'm doing details in a box like this that I want to have an internal part of it, I always try to get the internal part of it working first and then putting the details on the outside here. So if we go Control E, scroll there, can pull that in. I'm actually going to bring back the rest of this and make sure that the brackets here line up with the hole that I'm putting there as well. And it looks like they do actually, so that's good. So now press Control E again to bring it down. I'm going to go to my to my front view here, and as it comes down, because it's going in a straight line, I'm going to actually scale it in on that center one there, just so that we've got enough room. Cool. Alright, excellent. So that gives a nice solid foundation for that box. I'm going to go back to solid, and now we're going to look at using that extrude tool on these faces here. So I'm going to double click to select them all. If I went Control E to extrude and I just brought it in like this, I'd get this sort of a shape, which I don't want because I want them to be separate. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go here to keep faces together off, and then I'm going to scale down and then scale across, and that's going to create this for each of them. And then we're going to go Control E again and move it in slightly. And that will give me that sort of shape there. Cool. And for this last part here, let's have a look what we could do. There's two things I could do. I could keep the shape here, delete the top face there so it matches up, but I think I might actually just grab this bottom face here, extrude down like so, to make that last solid bit there, so it's all just one piece for this part here. And that is pretty much the model. The only other thing I'm going to do just quickly here is make this latch and then delete this. So I'm just going to go here, go faces, delete, go back. Actually, again, don't like how thick or how many inputs that has and divisions, so I'm just going to delete that one. I'm actually going to just, yeah, because I think I just subtracted that one. You know what? I could do it, but it's going to take too much time and I'm not going to bother about it. So I'm just going to do this one here. So I'm going to use the loop cut tool again. I'm going to make sure these are separated so I don't accidentally loop cut these. And we're basically going to do the same thing that we did here for this, except it's going to be a little bit more narrow. So I'm just going to go up here, go Control, oops, not Control R because that's Blender, and then move it across, move it there, move it down, then move it across here. So that's how you can get that internal sort of face there if you don't want to use the extrude tool. I could have used the extrude tool, but this will work just as well. So let's get there, edges, double click that, lift, bridge, and there's that latch there. Cool. And again, these do not need to be as detailed as that, so I'm just going to grab the one from the front here, Control D, move to the front, move it there, move it across. Again, it's changed a bit from the orthographic. Well, not really, because I think that's meant to be the hinge, and that's meant to be the loop, and this is the hinge. But if it does change slightly from the orthographic, don't stress about it. Don't feel like you've got to go right back to the drawing board. There's always going to be changes. It's just more about, you don't want to start off building a chest like this and then turn it into a fire hydrant. You will need to draw that again. But that is, I feel like, fairly fair. So that is that, and that's pretty much modeled. I'm happy with that. We can combine all of these shapes here. So I'm going to go mesh, combine. I'll keep that all there, that's fine. We're just going to combine this latch up to here. So edit mesh, sorry, combine, and that to that, and then that to the base. Mesh, combine. And yeah, that is good. I'm happy with that. Cool, all right, so in the next video, we're gonna look at UV unwrapping and look at, okay, how do we go about unwrapping all of these shapes to then bring them into Prutter.